my number one subplot. It's how do the Warriors play without Kevin Durant? We just watched, by some measures, the greatest team to ever step on a basketball court play a few seasons in the Bay Area, and now they have to adapt to life without him, without Thompson, and I'm just absolutely fascinated. So you'll notice this trend over these last few, but the next one for me is Warriors Lakers. Will the Lakers and LeBron be able to dethrone the Warriors? And can LeBron kind of seize back from Curry? I mean, obviously he's the last guy to really beat the Warriors at full strength. I mean, Kawhi Leonard beat them, but they didn't have Durant. They didn't really have Thompson. Iguodala was injured. I mean, there was just a lot going on there. Um, you know, LeBron was the last guy who took a punch from a Warriors team and was able to deal one back. So can he kind of still go back into his bag of tricks and find a way to beat them? That to me is going to be fun to watch, to see how the Lakers play. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if these games, a couple of them, feel a little bit more like playoff games, because it feels like there's a lot at stake here. Teams really want to knock the Warriors down a peg, and I think the Lakers maybe most of all.
Yeah, I think that's a good matchup too. I think you're going real Warrior heavy just because they were a team that was in the finals the last 5 years. Now they're really going to have to adjust the way they play. They're going to have completely different personnel out there on the court. So these matchups that were once shoo-ins to be conference final previews are now, could this be a first round matchup, 1-8? Could the Warriors fall that far down the Western Conference hierarchy? And I think it's an interesting topic. My final marquee matchup is one that may not even happen. Banking on the health of Kevin Durant here, but I have Nets Warriors as my fifth marquee matchup of the season, and that's if KD returns. I don't know if the NBA schedule makers know something, because both those games, I think they're at Brooklyn in February and then at Golden State in March. I don't think KD will be back for those, but if he is, get your popcorn ready.
Oh yeah, that'll be really something. If KD comes back too, don't sleep on the Nets as a real contender as well. But the last one, as I said, Warriors Clippers, that to me might be my favorite. I think the Clippers are right now would be my favorite to win the title. And I will tell you one thing, Jason, which is that I will guarantee you that the Warriors are hearing all of this buzz. And I guarantee you they cannot wait to play a couple of these teams, especially guys on that roster like Draymond Green. The first game that they have is early on in the season. I'm more interested probably in those later games towards the end of the season to see if Klay Thompson's back. But they put a nice early one in here for Warriors Clippers. The Warriors travel they're home against the Clippers on the 24th. And then later on in the season, there's going to be a couple of these. So I had trouble picking. I would probably, gun to my head, choose the April 11th game, third to last game of the season for the Warriors. They'll be in LA. Klay Thompson will likely be back, and we'll get to see those teams really go head to head. And you know what's even better, Jason? They play the
What?
Lakers 2 nights before. So they're going to be sitting in LA playing the two teams who at that point might be the favorites in the West on back-to-back games. And this Warriors team is going to be just itching to take down those two teams after being told all season that they're the real contenders. So I'm very excited for those matchups.
Yeah, I'm just not sold on the Warriors right now. You're essentially replacing Kevin Durant, Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, DeMarcus Cousins with D'Angelo Russell, Willie Cauley-Stein, and Glenn Robinson III. I mean, those names don't excite you. I want to see how Russ plays now that he has the contract. But the Warriors definitely have their work cut out for them if they're going to be contenders in the West. So that'll do it for our marquee matchups. But then Ben and I decided to pick a couple of underrated matchups throughout the season that could end up sparking some interest. And I'm going to start because I have Clippers Warriors on my list of underrated matchups. You saw with a healthy KD how exciting that first round matchup was last year, where it went 7 games and the Clippers were young and hungry and they took the Warriors right to the ropes and the Warriors ended up being the top team talent wise. But now that the Clippers are the big dogs, I'm interested to see how the Warriors play up against them, and do they have the defensive stoppers to go up against Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. So Clippers Warriors, I think, was once a budding rivalry at KD stayed. Now I just think it's an unheralded matchup in the NBA.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I'm kind of sticking with chalk here. You got a little more creative than I did, but there's so many matchups here that I'm excited for. It speaks to the parity of the league, but 76ers versus Celtics to me is going to be a slugfest. I can't wait to see those teams play against each other. There's some bad blood. They are going to be, as I said in one of our earlier shows, Jason, I really think the Sixers have a chance to be absolutely special defensively. And if they play this Celtics team, who without Kyrie Irving replace him with a guy like Marcus Smart, you could be talking about two of, if not the two best defensive teams in the league. And that's going to be a heck of a game. You know they don't like each other. Seeing them play should be a whole lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You got the Al Horford dynamic there. You have, the Tatum and Brown. Can they step up? Is Gordon Hayward healthy? The Sixers have a huge lineup. And I'll stay with the Sixers because one of my matchups is Sixers Nets. You saw that series in the first round last year only go 5 games, but there were the makings of a bit of a rivalry. Now, I think a lot of the players on the Nets that had bad blood with Sixers players like Jared Dudley are gone, but I still think those could be the two best teams in the division, with the Raptors and Celtics taking a step back. I think if Simmons and Embiid continue to talk, and then the Nets with some serious players in Durant and Irving and Jordan, I think that there could be a rivalry in the making here, with the Sixers being one of the top two teams in the East and the Nets not too far behind them.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be a fun one as well. I'm more interested, honestly, almost to see that a year from now when KD is fully healthy, and then see what that looks like. But the next one I went with, I think this is probably the most truly underrated of these, which is Pacers versus Celtics. They played last year. Obviously, Pacers were not at full strength. I think this is going to be a really fun matchup because I really feel like maybe it was just having been in Indianapolis for most of last week, but I feel like this Pacers team might be one of the teams that people are going to sleep on a little. Just the buzz that we're hearing through the summer, I'm wondering if people are sleeping on the Pacers a little bit too much, Jason, because I do feel like Brogdon combined with Oladipo, I didn't love the contract for Brogdon, but that combination, that is one of the best two-way backcourts you can get. And if Oladipo comes back fully healthy, that could be a really scary team. But then you look at the Celtics team that's just filled with wings and perimeter players. And those teams at full strength could really have quite a nice little matchup there. You're going to have guys switching, guarding each other. Who does Smart guard? Who does Tatum guard? Who does Brown guard? Does Brogdon switch up? Where does he go? All of that's going to be fun. I mean, Jeremy Lamb was probably my favorite signing of the offseason. So there's a lot of new faces, but there's still that bad blood. This is still going to be a nice kind of old school basketball game. You have to feel like so. I'm really excited to watch those teams play, and I like I said, I'm just excited to see how the Pacers mesh the new pieces and if Oladipo can come back healthy.
Yeah, it's a big if. You're going to laugh at my next pick, though, because I'm going abroad for this. Now, everyone knows the Charlotte Hornets had one of the worst off seasons in the NBA, losing Kemba Walker, and really the only player of note that they got was Terry Rozier on a massively overpaid contract. But the Bucks and Hornets are going to Paris. You saw the NBA play global games in London the past couple years. The Nets and Lakers are going to China, playing a couple games there in the preseason. But the Bucks and Hornets are playing a regular season game in Paris in January, and I think that's very good for the league. Paris and France as a whole has spit out some very good NBA players in Tony Parker and Boris Diaw. So I think it's good for the league. The NBA is going to a new place, and as globally popular as Giannis Antetokounmpo is, I think that's going to be a great game for his brand as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great pick. The rest of mine are kind of chalky. Again, you're going to notice some some of the same themes from before, which is
Ben's a teacher. He likes his chalk.
yeah, absolutely. And I love the Rockets against the Lakers is the first one I have because again, old guard, new guard. Where do the Rockets stack up against the new contenders? And how do they adjust to teams that are not the same as the Warriors? The Warriors construction, I think this is a very underrated storyline. The Rockets went all in to really play a style that was the antithesis of what the Warriors did and to take them out of their style to match up with them. How does that change when the team that they're gunning for now is not the same team that they were planning for before? Does that roster construction still make sense? Can they are they going to be able to play well against a team like the Lakers who, can really bruise them down low a little bit more than those Warriors teams did? Really interested to see how those teams match up. And on top of that, of course, Russell Westbrook, hometown LA guy, a lot of people had actually speculated that he might go to the Lakers one day. Be fun to watch him go play against the Lakers. I'm really excited to watch Harden and Westbrook versus Davis and LeBron. That should be a lot of fun.
The LA Bowl. I think all eyes are going to be on Los Angeles this year for sure. But I'm going to throw out my last two underrated matchups here because they have nothing to do with the city of Los Angeles. The first one I said last week when we broke down the Christmas Day schedule that this would be my pick for a sixth game, and that's the Jazz and the Blazers. The Jazz could be one of the most improved teams in the league that didn't add a superstar per se. They get Conley, they get Bogdanovich, they get Ed Davis to a nice young core that includes Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert and Joe Ingles. And then, of course, you have Portland, who had a great offseason, locking up both Lillard and McCollum to long-term mega deals, getting Hassan Whiteside and Nasir Little and Kent Bazemore. So I think that those will be two real fun, high-octane teams to watch playing in the same division. I think it's going to be pretty interesting, and I'm going to love watching those two teams go head-to-head.
Yeah.
And the last one for me is Pelicans Grizzlies. Now, I know this is a bit of a laugher, but you have the number one and the number two picks in the past draft, Zion Williamson and John Morant going head-to-head. The Pelicans I have pegged as a playoff team. The Grizzlies probably will be one of the worst in basketball, but they have a nice young core with Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. So I think it'll be fun watching Zion and John Morant going head-to-head, knowing they were picked 1 and 2 back in June. And we'll see if a nice little rivalry can form between those two youngsters. But laugh
absolutely.
away. Laugh away. Are you going to laugh at me?
I'm not laughing. You skipped my last team there. You went two in a row, and I was about to get to my Rockets Clippers pick because
I had to get away from LA for a minute. Forgive me.
I'll forgive you this time. I'll let it go.
Thank you,
Rockets
Elsa.
Clippers. Rockets Clippers, Jason, might be the most intriguing of the matchups and of all of these, just because the Clippers seem like they present the nightmare matchup for the Rockets. And I think if you were Daryl Morey coming into this season, outside of Kawhi going to the Lakers and having that absolute super team, this was not a great second choice for him. He can't be thrilled with this because it leaves the Clippers with really two guys who can defend Harden. And what that means is that they can also put a defender who can really play one-on-one against Harden on the screener whenever Harden runs pick and roll. And that's going to really neuter some of what Houston likes to do. And I am really interested to see what Mike D'Antoni does to kind of neutralize that because they're probably the only team in the league that can really have two guys who can just play Harden straight up one-on-one. I'm sure the Celtics would like a word with me in regards to that because they have some guys here who they really feel like are excellent. But the Clippers present that sort of matchup to them, and I'm really interested to see what the Rockets can do. And this kind of goes along with that underrated piece of we watched the Rockets really struggle during the regular season, and now this year, the team that they were built to beat is no longer the team that they need to beat. And what does that mean for them? And how do they react? And how do they play teams that have a completely different roster construction That to me is going to be really interesting to watch, and it makes it to me one of the most underrated and most